you in terms of them looking at colleges? Does that play into your classes? Do you talk about college essays, or
That's a
how
good
does that?
question. I do read a boatload of college essays every year,
Hmm.
but they come from seniors
Okay.
who either had me as a teacher as juniors or are just sort of making the rounds and showing their college essay to anyone who will stand still,
Hmm.
which you too will get to that point, Abby, where
I
you're
will
just.
also be in your class
That's
because
right.
I was in France for my junior year,
That's
so
right.
I'll be with the juniors.
That
But
and
anyway,
that's going to be a good experience for
I
everybody.
think it'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
I love multi-grade classrooms.
Really?
It's really we
Why?
can talk more about. Well, it changes the dynamic in a healthy way
Hmm.
because the older kids are generally more focused in a class of younger kids because they have to feel like they don't want to get showed up by the younger
Yeah,
kids.
they have to be the older kids that
That's
they
right, and
are.
the younger kids always have a little bit of like the big eye syndrome when there's older
Yeah,
kids in the room. So it generally tends to make everybody sort of
kind of.
behave a little bit differently and better.
Hmm.
'Cause it's just more interesting too. Not
Yeah,
everybody's in the same boat. Some people are doing
exactly.
different stuff.
That'd be nice. But anyway, so
Yeah,
junior year.
right. The juniors, well, it's American history and American literature,
Hmm.
and so my sales pitch to them about why the class is important has very little to do with college. Although we do talk about it, that this is the foundation for if you're going to go on and study U.S. history or literature, that you're going to be getting a lot here that you'll see it again, right? This isn't going to be the last time you read the Scarlet Letter.
Hmm.
So there is that. And the free writing that we do,
We'll
I
come
think
back
that
to the Scarlet Letter assignment later.
yeah, right. That the free writing does translate well into college essay writing,
Hmm.
and to sort of learning to take ownership of your work. And I have this whole writing process that involves a lot of hand waving and drawings.
Okay, that's good.
And you'll get your fill of that in the first couple weeks of
Is it
school.
like a candy shaped essay, or
Uh,
is it something more
No,
creative?
it's part of my I sort of debunk the 5 paragraph hamburger essay approach, and I have my
So
own.
you don't like the
No,
5 paragraph
no, I
approach?
know, but I have my own philosophy that I'll sort of like replace it with in your
Okay.
mind.
You can do a little short outline because we have some seniors watching,
Yes,
since this is a college
right.
type
So
show.
it's more of an exploratory structure. I'll put it that way. So it
Okay.
takes the free writing, which kids all love to do,
Hmm.
and I sort of then start them doing free writing about the actual topic.
Okay.
And then we use that as a starting point for where the essay begins, and also so this sort of like windy road that they go down in their own writing, that winds up being this. The road is the metaphor that I use instead of the hamburger for what you
Okay.
eventually get to. And so, in short, you
Sounds
know,
more fluid.
it's
than a
more fluid,
hamburger.
and it can tackle bigger things. So like the first essay question
Hmm.
on the, well, maybe not the first one, but the second one illustrates it pretty well on the revolution. So my question will be, how revolutionary was the American Revolution?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
Right, and most people don't, and mostly because it's unanswerable.
Okay.
And most of my
That's-
questions are unanswerable. I like the how this was this structure. How progressive was the progressive period, which led one of my students eventually in second semester to say, "Why don't you ask us how great was the Great Gatsby?" You know.
That's good.
Yeah. So the how revolutionary essay, this is something that it's just too big. The 5 paragraph essay would choke on it. It just can't handle that. If
Yeah.
you sit down, it's like, well, how revolutionary was it? Well, it
It's
kind of was.
Kind of constricting.
That's right.
write like that.
All of a sudden, you realize that structure isn't able to handle like complex thought. It's
Yeah,
good at sort of
exactly.
explaining something ad nauseum.
Very piece by piece, yeah.
Right. So this more fluid approach, where you might start out by saying it was very revolutionary because we started out with British rule and we ended up without it, and it was revolutionary because all these great documents, which we still live under the Constitution, and that seems to be. But then on the other hand, like, was it really that revolutionary for slaves? They had masters before and masters afterward. Didn't really change much of their lives, and like women, well, it kind of was. They rose up into different roles in society while the men were gone, but then when they came back, they kind of went
pretty
back.
much, yeah.
So then you sort of
It
debate
explores. I
with
see.
yourself and explore, and so it's this discovery is my metaphor for that. And so you discover something, and then you kind of go back and show your reader what you've discovered.
Okay.
And it's definitely by definition more ambiguous and more true.
Yeah.
I think.
That's, I think, a great way of writing. And then, so kids come to you with these college essays. You help edit some of the college essays.
Absolutely.
You read over them, including seniors who aren't in your class.
Right. I read a ton of them. And they're really very good. I have to say that the college essays that come out of Sonoma Academy are really good, shockingly good.
Wow. That's good
And
to
I
hear.
think it's a product of many things. One is that they've had the humanities department at our school, I think, is very strong, but we all teach writing quite differently.
So it gives a range of
So
tools to
everyone
use.
has found something that works by the time they get to senior year. If
personal,
it
yeah.
wasn't my way, then it was somebody else who came before me or somebody who comes after. And so everyone has a chance. We don't make any effort to sort of all teach the same way in lockstep. In fact, we sort of cherish the idea that we all do it pretty differently. So if my way is not working, somebody else has. So I think that's one of the reasons that produces it. Also, almost all of our assessment in humanities department is through essay writing. You know, you'll take tests occasionally.
No, it's true. Most of our grades are very essay-based, I think.
Right. So there's a lot. You just get used to doing that. And then the hard transition that some kids have to make is that they're writing the same sort of exploratory writing, but it's about themselves. They're no longer trying to figure out how revolutionary the American Revolution is. They're trying to figure out, like, who am I?
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know,
slightly different.
right,
topic.
or like, what do I have to offer to Tulane University? You know, so the questions sometimes will sort of send them in a certain direction, but the open questions are the ones they do particularly well on, I think, where they get to just sort of explore. That's not to say that it's an easy process. I mean, kids,
Do you see juniors stressing out at the end of the year?
Not really.
It's
They
more
have so
senior
much
year,
to do. The junior year is academically very challenging. And so what I tell them when they do start stressing out about the college process is I say, look, keep your eye on the ball academically. That's what they want to see. They want to see you do well in all these hard classes in the spring of your junior year. That's what you can do for yourself now. There'll be plenty of time later.
Giving bad grades ever?
Do I feel guilty about?
Sorry to interrupt,
no,
but...
I don't. I mean, there are times when I feel like, you know, I really wish somebody had pulled through on something more. But my class is almost entirely revisable.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
almost every assignment, every high-stakes assignment that I give, students can revise it. And in fact, they can revise it as many times as they want.
Very generous.
Right, and I have which is why I think I have a reputation of being both sort of like generous and also kind of a hard guy, because people will turn in revision after revision and get the same grade.
It's just like,
because I'm not going to go up just because you did it 5 times.
Yeah.
But you can do it 6 times.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that a lot of people, by doing things over and over again, and I encourage also students to not just tinker and fix, but to sometimes rewrite things. You know, I'll say rewrite this section, this paragraph, and I think that all the writing and rewriting that kids do junior year does in fact help them out a lot.
Yeah.
And so their writing sort of improves through their own efforts of pushing the boulder up the hill. It's not like I have a series of lessons which are going to be so revealing that all of a sudden, whoa, now I know how to write. That's like saying, like, now I know how to, like, kick a soccer ball into the net. Yeah, I make all kinds of analogies between writing and sports because that's, first of all, I think people understand it. And second of all, I think it's true that the same sort of hours and hours of practice are required to be good at writing, that it's not necessarily the same way you get to be good at factoring polynomials.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's kind of a thing where, like, you get it, or you can work on it and get it, or you're not going to get it, probably. But everybody can get to be a pretty good writer if they just bang their head on it long enough. It's just that that's hard to do. And so a lot of what I do is convincing people that it's worth it to go back and do it again.
Which is where the free writes helps too, I'm sure.
That's right, because they're already doing some writing, so their facility for writing is improving. Their confidence is improving, and so the notion that I could go back and write this better isn't such a foreign concept. And plus, what do they have to lose?
Yeah, exactly. And then what about college recommendations? How do you feel when you're writing?
I write a million of those.
Yeah, because he's the main. Before you were the
Before
only
I was the only junior teacher. So some years I would write almost all of them. I would write.
And how does that feel? How is that?
I like writing college recommendations.